Why do people plagiarize? What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the review space. In this video, we're going to cover a topic a little bit more serious this time around. What are the reasons why people plagiarize? That's right. Why do people steal other people's work or rip off other people's work and try to pass it off as their own? Why do people copy, imitate blatantly without no originality and without any kind of creativity? Why do people plagiarize all the time? And we see this happen constantly. So we're going to tackle this question. Very, very interesting to me, especially with the recent Philip Mewson stuff, plagiarizing basically some video game reviews, right, on the internet. He was the former IGN reviewer or IGN editor. But this is also a Quora question, Quora topic, so I want to tackle it. Also, tying it with the Quora replies to the Quora series that I'm doing, this little podcast. So what are the reasons why people plagiarize? This one's from Quora.com. From how long was this ago? Last year? 2017? March 2017 is the one of the first responses. So I'm going to give my opinion on why I personally think that why do people plagiarize, but I also definitely want to cover the Philip Mewson stuff regarding the IGN plagiarism. So we're going to take a look at the answer first from Sophia, a student. Sophia something, I can't pronounce her last name, from March 20th, 2017. I see several points to answer this question. They are lazy. Point number one, they are lazy to find something on their own and don't see the behoof of doing something. Why should I do this work on XYZ if it has already been done? Just gonna copy it. They are unable to reformulate something because they think what has already been written, said is the best thing ever, and they are not good enough to change it. Again, too lazy, like, meh, it's fine this way. A lack of personality, they have low self-confidence, so they don't want to take risks to change, or even if they can ameliorate it, I've never even heard that word, anything. They want to get the credits for somebody else's hard work, to fake their own hard work. The most common, they were late on something due, like a project, so they decided to plagiarize instead of working. You know, I ain't got no time for that. So I guess I only see three categories of people: the lazy ones, the perfectionists with low confidence, and the opportunists. I'd be glad if someone comments and widens my point of view on this question. Alright, answer requested by Gloria, some. Alright, I think those are great points, and I generally agree with that. There's, especially with the lazy part, there's definitely people out there that are lazy, they don't want to put in the work, but the main thing that came up with this, especially with the Philip Mewson thing, is some people just don't have talent. People are talentless hacks. There's a lot of talentless hacks out there. The word hack is something that I picked up from the stand-up comedic community. So when it comes to stand-up comedians, you have people that create their own jokes. They write their own jokes. So they're creative. Some of these people are seen as the greatest, funniest people in history. People that can write their own material, and people that basically pen their own stuff. What they say on stage when they perform as a stand-up comedian, whether it's this individual or that individual, or somebody like a Louis C.K., a Patrice O'Neill, Bill Hicks, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, some of the greatest stand-up comedians, Paul Mooney, that we've seen throughout history, we generally understand them to be creative forces. They're creative people that write their own material. They write their own stuff. Now, whether that's 100% true, or maybe in some cases they'll have maybe a comedian will have a joke, and some comedians will write for other comics. So, like for example, let's say I was a writer, but I'm not particularly famous. I'll write a particular joke, and some more famous comedian will pay to buy the joke off of me, or they'll pay me to write basically stuff for them. I mean, I know those are certain instances where that's not necessarily the case. Like from what I remember, like maybe even Chris Rock, he had writers. He had somebody like Wanda Sykes writing for him back in the day. And Chris Rock is considered one of the greatest stand-up comics of all time. So, and his stuff was generally viewed as really fresh and new and original, even though he had writers, or that's what I heard back in the day. I can't confirm that he did 100. He had 100%. 100% sure that he did have writers, like a Wanda Sykes, but that's what I heard throughout the years. Like, okay, yeah, he had writers. So having somebody else write your own work is considered kind of like you're not as creative, but even that, you can still be great. You can still be great like a Louis C.K. You can still be great like a Richard Pryor. You can still be great like a George Carlin. You're considered one of the greatest stand-up comics if you write your own material and it comes directly 100% from you. And so you're considered basically a genius. You're considered somebody who's incredibly funny and somebody who just came up with it by yourself. Like, wow, this guy's really funny, or this individual is incredibly creative. There's something unique about their brain that they can come up with all this funny, hilarious segments or written material that they can perform on stage. And so when somebody writes their own stuff and creates their own work, some people don't have that kind of talent. You know what I mean? Some people don't have that kind of writing ability. They're not as creative. They're not as talented. They don't think as quickly as other comics. They don't have that fast-paced way of thinking. They don't have that quick brain or that intelligent brain that they're able to write down some funny stuff or some funny original things. So these people are called hacks in the stand-up comedy industry. Oh, that guy's a hack, or this guy is a hack. People like Carlos Mencia, for example. Carlos Mencia is a perfect example of a stand-up comedy who was basically blasted for years, basically accused of plagiarism and stealing other people's work, or stealing other people's jokes, or taking other people's written material and other people's jokes and kind of rehashing it in his own way, putting his own, Latin spin on it. His accent. He's got a Latino accent. Who he just takes everybody else's joke and recites it and says it again, but in a stereotypical kind of like a Mexican delivery. I know he's not Mexican, but like he says it in front of a very Hispanic-oriented crowd or a Mexican crowd, and he kind of caters to that demographic, So he takes other people's jokes and then he recites it to a new audience or his own audience, but he kind of takes other people's material. It's not his own creativity and it's not his own material. It's not his own written stuff. So Carlos Mencia, and he's basically fallen off since then. You know what I mean? So he was exposed for years. He was basically attacked by other comics that have accused him of being this thief. He's basically a joke thief. Even South Park, I believe South Park years ago, they even made an episode dedicated to him saying some kind of joke, and then somebody said a joke. I think it was maybe, I don't know, like a Kanye West thing, and then what's his name, Carlos Mencia, ended up stealing it as his own joke, or whatever the heck the storyline was on South Park. And so they kind of made fun of that. They made fun of joke thieves, basically. So these people are called hacks. Now, the word hack is short for hackneyed. Hackneyed basically means redundant. It's been done. It's unoriginal. It's derivative. It's something that we've seen already. It's become so common and so predictably. It's something that is uncreative. Like other people have done it. Other people have done the same thing. So over time, it becomes hackneyed. It becomes something that is just repetitive. Like, come on, we've seen that already. Or, yeah, I understand. We've seen this already in the past. Like somebody else was successful in utilizing that technique or utilizing that approach. And now people are just rehashing the same thing. A perfect example of this is YouTube. YouTube is filled with hacks, especially people that just do nothing but video game blogging. I remember, especially in that late 2000s, early 2010s period, almost everybody, there's a ton of YouTubers that had Call of Duty or first-person shooter vlogs on YouTube. All their channel is basically comprised of them talking, rambling on a microphone or on a headset, but playing the video game footage, or the footage in the video would just be this Call of Duty footage. It would just be COD or some kind of first-person shooter. But most of the times, I'd say like 90% of the time, it was COD footage. It was just, Call of Duty material. They would just upload some typical basic Call of Duty footage that they recorded, from their computer or video game system, and they uploaded it on YouTube with them talking in the background. And whatever topic they were talking about, it didn't have anything to do with COD. It could be about their own personal life. It could be a trending topic at the moment, like celebrity topics, or some kind of controversy on the internet, or some kind of video game news that has nothing to do with Call of Duty. They would just talk about whatever. Those kind of channels have largely kind of dissipated over the years. Obviously, they're not really interesting. I found really none of them that interesting or fascinating at all. But there were a lot of those channels on YouTube, because that takes no talent. It takes absolutely zero talent to do something like that, where you just do the same thing that other people have already done. It's predictable, but it works because COD was popular. So the hackneyed thing is also riding on something that's popular, because it's common, and a lot of people are searching for it, especially at that time in the late 2000s, early 2010s, when Call of Duty was extremely popular, and multiplayer FPS games were everywhere. So people would just do that. These gamers on YouTube, they would just constantly do the same thing. Everybody had the same exact approach, because it was popular, because it was common, it was the thing to do. It wasn't even the thing to do, but it was something that it was so easy to do. It was easy. It took no talent. It took no effort to do it. So, you got these talentless hacks, basically, these hack channels that would just upload game footage of first-person shooters, Call of Duty, and then have the audio be some kind of vocal thing that they would be talking over the video game footage, whatever the heck it was that they were talking about. So that's basically an example of hacks in YouTube, and that's hackneyed material, something that's derivative. We've seen it again and again and again. So when it comes to unoriginal people that have no talent, and this translates into the IGN stuff with Philip Mewson, who is basically this. I believe he became an IGN editor or IGN reviewer, and he eventually got caught by this guy named, I think his name is Boomstick Gaming. He has a YouTube channel, kind of a small YouTuber. I mean, he's bigger than my channel, but he ended up becoming a lot more popular after this, which is actually kind of a good thing. So in a way, it's kind of like it's a bad thing that his material got stolen by IGN, but on the other hand, on the positive side, he got a lot more attention from other people that found his channel, including me. Like, okay, this guy exists out there. So Boomstick basically uploaded a video. I'm sure everybody's already has heard about this, already knows about this by now. But Boomstick uploaded a video of his review compared side by side to Philip Mewson's review on IGN. And it was basically this game called Dead Cells or something like that. It's the first time I've never heard of the game before, but basically this video game called Dead Cells, and he would play clips of his video right next to the IGN video, the IGN review of Dead Cells, and side by side, I mean, they were saying the same exact thing, practically. I mean, it was like almost word for word copied and pasted, plagiarized right from his review that he created, and then you got this Philip Mewson guy creating this, Dead Cells review in IGN that sounds 99.9% the same. I mean, it sounded exactly the same. It's just that he would change a few words every now and then, kind of reword a sentence, but the basic structure of each sentence sounded almost exactly the same. You know what I mean? So there was no creativity. It wasn't original. It was a hack ripoff. It was a hackneyed, plagiarized material. So you got this, talentless hack Philip Mewson, this guy who is basically a plagiarist, and then after that, other videos started coming out, or other sites would start uploading things that he got exposed even more. other reviews and other reviews that he did for IGN started getting exposed as like, holy crap, this guy stole other people's work. It wasn't just Dead Cells, it was other video games too. That he basically took somebody else's video or somebody else's work and he rehashed it for himself. He repackaged it as his own work, as his own material. Like and he did the same thing. It was the exact same thing. He would basically take somebody else's review or somebody else's words regarding a video game, and he would just repackage it. He would take it almost word for word, and just kind of switch the words around, change a few words, almost like like he looked up a thesaurus and like changed a word. So instead of like, oh, this game is very difficult, but this game is also very fun. So then, if that was the original wording, he would change it to be like, this particular title is quite exhilarating, enjoyable, and I thought it was quite fun. So he would like switch certain words around, but it sounded so similar enough that it was like, yeah, it's pretty clear that he plagiarized it and he basically stole somebody else's work. And that's the thing, is that the guy doesn't have any talent. I don't think he's really talented, at least not when it comes to reviewing. I hear some things every now and then, like I'll read somebody making a comment about it, like, well, he's a pretty good editor. Like, as far as video editing, he's actually pretty talented at that. He's actually good at that. And, he might be a really good editor as far as splicing a video together and have that capability to have a great presentation in the video. But as far as the actual wording, as far as the actual words and the actual written material, he doesn't have any talent for that. Not that I've seen anyway, where he's original, that he comes up with his own stuff and he has his own mind. And I think that's what it is. He doesn't have any talent. A lot of these hacks and these plagiarists, they don't have any talent. Either that or he's just extremely, extremely lazy. Like this person said here in Kiora, that there's people that are lazy, people that don't want to put in the effort, they don't want to put in work, and what they do is that they'll basically, because they don't want to spend so much time on a video game, they'll just take somebody else's material and then rip it off, jack it or whatever, and then present it as their own, and just kind of rehash the same words, repackage the same words that somebody else already said. And so he's basically ripping off somebody else's review, and he might not have even played the game, or even if he did actually play Dead Cells and the other stuff that is featured on IGN that he reviewed, he might not have even played it thoroughly. Like, he might not have spent a lot of time on the games, and he just kind of looked up somebody else's review, like, okay, I'll get it done by the end of the day. By tonight I'll upload it, or I'll have it uploaded on IGN or whatever. And so it's lazy thinking. It's like, let me steal somebody else's work because I don't want to put the time and effort in working on this particular review and actually spending so much time. And because this is IGN too, we're talking about IGN here. IGN is a piece of garbage publication. Like, I've never really bought into IGN. Even back in the day, like 10, 11 years ago or whatever, when I used to look up game reviews, like I'd go on GameSpot sometimes, I'd go on some other websites, but like IGN always seemed kind of shifty to me. They were far too they seemed so crappy. Their reviews were not that detailed, and their reviews were not that they didn't come across as informative. I always kind of saw them more like by the numbers, dime a dozen kind of reviews that weren't they didn't stick with me. Like if I would read certain reviews, IGN was always like really forgettable. It was mostly just the brand itself. IGN, that's the thing that is the draw. That's the reason why people go to their videos or reviews or whatever, their website, is because of the brand name. It's not so much the quality of their reviews or the quality of their material, but rather because they're famous, because they're sort of all over the internet. I guess maybe they were some of the earliest video game reviewers out there on the internet, IGN, and so they became like this thing. They just became a thing. People flocked to their website, and their website did look pretty professional and nice. Even 10, 11 years ago, they had a kind of a nice looking website with a ton of different like video game reviews available. So, but yeah, none of their reviews really stood out for me, and they've never really convinced me to buy a video game or to go against a video game. They've never. Their reviews have been really forgettable. So IGN kind of sucked to begin with. They've never been that impressive in the first place. So, so you're talking about IGN. Now they're putting out fake, hack reviews or stolen reviews, stolen material from other people. That doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean? It doesn't surprise me at all. It's something that is almost like expected from this hack website. You know what I mean? IGN is a hacky website. It's a hacky channel that really, their opinion on video games really shouldn't be taken seriously. That's the reality of it. That's the truth of it. Because if they let this guy, Philip Mewson, get away with it for a long time, for months and months and months, however long they've employed him, about a year, and it's like he got away with so many different like reviews that were basically stolen, then it's like, what are you good for? That's IGN. You know what I mean? That's IGN. They put that out there, and they didn't take this guy down, or they didn't fire this guy, let this guy go until the stuff hits the fan, until this stuff came crashing down and caught up with them. Where it's like people started noticing, like, this guy's stealing my work. IGN is basically stealing my reviews, my written material, my work. That's IGN. So I don't even bother with IGN, man. They've always been worthless to me. So I don't really give two craps about IGN. You know what I mean? They're meaningless. I mean, there's far better reviewers out there. There's far better gaming channels that are more informative and are more detailed, and gaming websites. I'd rather go to like Metacritic. Metacritic is far more informative than any IGN review. Even like, yeah, as trollish and like as cluster F as Metacritic can be, because it can be quite it can be a mess at Metacritic. You know what I mean? You can't take every single review seriously, especially the user scores. Some of them I'm sure are very sincere, but some of them are also quite very trollish, and they don't come across as real. It's almost like somebody's just hating for no reason, or just they're hating just to hate on Metacritic. But regardless, I'd rather take Metacritic over, frickin' IGN. But anyway, that's my take on the Philip Mewson stuff. I mean, the guy probably doesn't have that much talent as far as writing material, or he's extremely lazy, and he doesn't want to put in that particular work. And who knows how long he's been doing this? Who knows how long he's been ripping off other people's work and other people's material over the years, because he wants to make that deadline. He has to finish a review for this game, Dead Cells, and other games that he's reviewed, in order to meet IGN's deadline, to meet their demands. Like, you gotta finish this review right now, right quick, don't matter how you do it. Go steal somebody else's work, it don't matter. And so he has to do whatever he has to do, I guess. Like maybe he felt like he had to steal in order to meet that deadline. I mean, who knows? Right? I know he's made excuses about it. He's tried to deflect the particular situation, when he made that response. I think that one got taken down. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the whole Philip Mewson thing. There are game reviewers out there that are just completely, it's not even worth listening to them, because they don't even play the games, or they don't even have their own thoughts about it. It's just a hack review. So for the most part, I'd rather listen to the general audience. I'd rather listen to people people like me, basically, that I love the game, or I play the game, I have the game, and I play it thoroughly, and I present it to you guys in a way that's like, I experienced this, I've been through this game, and I pretty much have a lot of information about this game. Pretty much everything that you need to know is in my video game reviews. And yeah, I know I haven't reviewed a game in a long time. It feels like it's been many years. But especially back in the day, like in 2012 or 2013, whatever, when I would make those Game Boy Advance, like GBA video game reviews of like Mario games and GBA SP games and handhelds and PSP games. Those are some of my favorite videos to make, because I'm talking about a game that I like, that I enjoy, but I also want to talk about it. I want to review it and dissect it in a way that's like really informative. That's why a lot of my reviews, my game reviews, are like 40 minutes long, 30 minutes long. You know, they're relatively lengthy, because I want to get to as many detail as possible. So, you know, as far as the perfectionist thing, like somebody's a perfectionist with low confidence, I don't even know about that. Like, I can't even... Somebody's a hack or a ripoff, a plagiarist, because they're perfectionists, and I don't know. Like, I don't think people are like that. Like, if somebody's a perfectionist, they would be more their own, you know what I'm saying, their own personal thing. It would be a personal, like, I gotta do it my way instead of stealing somebody else's work. I mean, if you're a perfectionist, then you might be influenced by other people. You might be influenced by somebody else's thing. Like, what worked for that guy, or what worked for that particular successful thing, I can take a little bit of it, but, like, add it to my own perfection. Add it to my own original material and kind of make it into my own, instead of completely rehashing everything. I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, completely rehashing something is just it's lazy, or it's hackneyed, it's unoriginal, and it doesn't take any talent. So it doesn't take any talent. It just means that that person doesn't have the capability to be good enough to produce something of quality. So they gotta steal somebody else's work. That's plagiarism. That's plagiarism. Is stealing other people's work. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, moving on to another Quora response. Linda Lennon from, what is this? ICU at St. Joseph Medical Center, Stamford. What? I don't think this... a former unit coordinator. March 19, 2017. Anyway. There have been some excellent answers to this question, including laziness, poor planning, procrastination, and pretension, wanting to sound smart. That's true. That's true. The whole wanting to sound smart is basically... there are people out there that... I mean, the pretentiousness... Some people are just pretentious anyway. They don't have to be, like... It goes back to unoriginality. It goes back to being uncreative and unintelligent. It's kind of like... Yeah, you're reciting somebody else's intelligence or somebody else's ideas, and you're using it for yourself. It's kind of like... I don't know, maybe people in the skeptic community, or people that are these pretentious so-called scholars or educated people, but all they really do is rehash other people's material or other people's work that somebody else far smarter than them has already talked about, and they just kind of rip off other people's talking points and other people's ideas. People that are in education, for example, like these so-called scholars or so-called psychologists that think that they're so smart, but in reality, they're just basically rehashing other people's work. They're rehashing other people's ideas or philosophies. I will add one more to this list, desperation. I think that many people are being enrolled in for-profit colleges who are not ready or prepared for the experience. I'm not knocking for-profit colleges. I am myself attending one. They're spending money that they can't afford, savings or student loans, and have committed to attending for X amount of classes, and they're unable to string a simple sentence together. Further, they can't bring themselves to ask for help, which is readily available. So there they are, day 6 of a 7-day week with a 9-page paper due. They need to synthesize 5 peer-reviewed articles into one coherent literature review, and they don't understand their topic, and they don't understand how to combine the ideas from several sources into a clear explanation, and out of desperation to cover up their own shortcomings, they plagiarize. They don't got no talent. They're lazy. It goes back to that. No talent, talentless hacks, and lazy bums. You know what I mean? Lazy pieces of garbage that they don't have the work ethic or the effort to do it, and they're not talented enough and they're not intelligent enough to tackle the work, to tackle this particular thing. It's kind of like putting somebody who's a complete hack, let's say a crappy garbage comedian, let's say Carlos Mencia, and putting him up in in a like an amazing roast, where it's like you gotta be super smart and super intelligent, and you got people like frickin' Patrice O'Neal, you know what I mean? You got these really super quick guys that are like super fast thinkers, and then you have this basically this hack ripoff like a Carlos Mencia or whoever. I mean, I don't want to keep picking on Mencia, but like somebody who's just not that funny or clever, and then you put them in that Shark Tank, you know, amongst the sharks, put them in the deep end, and they can't hang. They can't hang with the big boys. They can't hang and swim with the freaking big boys, the sharks, the guys who are actual, you know what I'm saying, killers, you know, guys that are very, very super smart and quick and funny and super intelligent, that will tear them up. You know what I mean? Given that opportunity, tear them up. You see the hacks get exposed. You see the untalented people really immediately get exposed, like, that guy's not funny, or that guy's not intelligent, or that guy's a writer. He's not an actual off the cuff, funny impromptu comedian. Like you know, people like, who's that? Dennis Leary. I remember Dennis Leary getting chopped up. I mean, he just got decimated by who's the the guy. He ended up I think dying back in 2010. He was a roaster, like a really famous comedy roaster. What's his name again? It's basically a great footage on YouTube. It's basically from Tough Crowd like years ago, and he basically decimated Dennis Leary. Dennis Leary is basically this hack, and he basically got decimated on on Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn by who the heck is that? Yeah, that guy's a really famous roaster. What's his name? Greg Giraldo. That's the one. Greg Giraldo is the guy's name. There you go. I completely forgot. I always forget his name, Greg Giraldo. But I mean, yeah, rest in peace. He passed away, I think, in 2010. But he basically got up in that Dennis Leary, man. He exposed him. He owned him. I mean, he was just so much funnier and quicker than Dennis Leary. Leary just got absolutely decimated by Giraldo. So that's a perfect example of a guy who doesn't have that much talent, a guy who's an accused hack, an accused plagiarist, an accused joke thief, Dennis Leary, and he got exposed right there on that Tough Crowd by Greg Giraldo. I mean, he got smashed. So I think the same thing can be said for these you know, students that they try to tackle all these different classes and what have you. They don't have intelligence, or they're not as intelligent. They're just not capable of handling all this work, and they don't have that work ethic. So they end up plagiarizing some other people's work. I mean, so that becomes a desperate thing. So I understand the desperation aspect of it. I understand feeling desperate, but it goes all the way back to not being good enough to handle it in the first place, not having that talent in the first place, being a weakling in the first place. It's like you're putting a beta male up against a freaking alpha male. You're weak in the first place. You know what I mean? You're desperate because you're weak. You're desperate because you can't handle it to begin with. So you're going to end up stealing other people's work. So you know what I mean? You're not capable to begin with. You're trying to hang with the big boys, but you can't. You're trying to tackle something difficult, but you can't. You're trying to go with it. You're trying to beat an extremely hard video game. You put that thing on God mode, or super hard mode, ultra hard mode, and you don't even know how to throw a punch. You don't even know how to do a Hadouken. You don't even know how to do any special moves, and you're getting destroyed by the CPU. You know, so because you never put in that effort. You never put in the effort to work on the character and learn how to do moves. It's like with video games, man. That's what it is. It's like you never practiced enough when it came to the game, whether it's, I don't know, Tekken or Killer Instinct or whatever game, and so you don't know how to play this game. You have no skill about it. You don't know how to do any of the moves, and then you immediately put this hack against some extremely difficult opponent, and then the guy just gets destroyed. So it's like, don't even do it. You know what I mean? Why would you even try going up against super tough competition that it's like you're way over your head and you can't even do it, and you're not even talented? So it's like that I don't know. Let's keep moving. Simona Haver from March 19, 2017. I think that some people plagiarize because they don't feel they're good enough to try to do whatever it is in the first place, and sometimes they are just lazy. Again, we go back to the lazy thing. Yeah, we've heard it a million times already. Years ago, some former friends told me they wanted to pay me $300, which is still a lot of money, to write their college thesis for them. I could definitely have done it, but strongly urged them to do it themselves, if only for the fact that they took the time and money to go through college, making good enough grades to pass and get to that point, and that was simply the last step to their grueling but necessary process. Why not do it themselves for the pleasure of fruition? I declined their offer. In my opinion of them changed afterwards, but it was a rude awakening in plagiarism. This takes me back to high school now that this person mentioned it. I remember in high school, back in the early mid-2000s, like maybe around 2002 or 2003, I had a classmate that sat next to me. And he was extremely lazy, you know what I mean? He never wanted to do his homework, so he would like ask me every now and then. He would basically bribe me. He would basically like offer me stuff to have me finish his homework or have me finish his work. He didn't want to do it, so he would I remember he would give me like video games. He would give me like N64 games. You know what I mean? Like I used to have the N64 back in the day, and he'd give me N64 titles that he didn't want anymore, and I remember him giving it to me. And I was like, whoa, like, alright, I'll do it because it's free N64 games, like, why not? I didn't have that many N64 titles to begin with, so, give it to me, like, I'll do it. So I basically did it, and, that was fine. I had no problem doing it, and so I got the N64 games, and I had, you know what I'm saying? I was able to acquire something out of it, but, yeah, I mean, there's some people who are just extremely lazy, and they have absolutely zero desire to work. It's pretty pathetic, actually, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, somebody's offering you some money. I mean, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't turn it down. You know what I mean? As a human being who likes making money, I like creating cash, generating some income, and it's like $300 for some kind of writing their own, writing somebody else's college thesis. I mean, that's quite a lot of cash, and that's really not bad. I mean, maybe you should have done it, you know what I mean? You should have taken them up on the offer, because, I mean, who's going to find out? It's like, okay, write somebody else's work. Nobody's going to find out, you know what I'm saying? It's just stupid college anyway. College is a big waste of time anyway. So, write somebody else's work. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna find out. I have no problem with stuff like that. Like, when it comes to payment, when it comes to, like, you want to pay somebody, then at least you're paying somebody, and somebody is making some money off of it, or getting some kind of thing in exchange, if they're too lazy. Like, people that have no talent and steal work, that's a big problem. But people that are so extremely lazy that they'll just rather pay somebody else to do the work, it's more like a business. It feels more like an exchange. It's something that it's like, well, like I don't know how to fix the toilet, so I'm gonna pay the toilet fixer guy, like the plumber or whatever, to fix it. Like, it's kind of similar to that. Like, I feel like it's very similar to that particular way of thinking. It's like, well, I don't know how to fix my TV or my computer, so I'm gonna go to Best Buy and have have some technician or whatever, some computer technician to fix it. Or some guy who knows his way around electronics, like, fix that. Because that is a skill, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have skill in order to work your way around computers and stuff like that. So, paying somebody to do work, in my opinion, it's not as nearly as bad as, like, stealing other people's work. So, like, I would understand if, going back to the Philip Newson thing on IGN, I would understand if he paid other people to basically do his reviews. And what I mean by that is to write his reviews. If he paid other people to basically play the game and just write everything up and everything, and then he paid them later, he just basically paid them for the particular review, then I would be a bit more understanding, and that would be a little bit. I mean, it's still unoriginal. It's still very hacky, obviously, especially for something that you can easily just write yourself. But that being said, if Philip Newson ended up paying Boomstick or whoever that he stole and ripped off ideas from, that I would maybe even kind of understand, not necessarily 100% accept, but kind of understand that, oh, okay, he's paying other people to do his work, basically. And, maybe that's not such a bad thing, because Boomstick might end up making money off of it, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, lazy people, you know what I'm saying? You can't really depend on lazy people. That's the reality. That's the truth. You can't depend on laziness. So, yeah, somebody is lazy, but they want to pay other people to do their work. It's still a bad thing overall, because you're talking about somebody that doesn't want to put in any effort, and somebody that is completely, they would rather spend money. They would rather pay for basically the problem to go away. They would pay for the problem to be tackled by somebody else. They don't want to do the actual work themselves. So even that, laziness is just a bad thing overall, because it's like you don't want to do it. You want to pass off the problem to somebody else. So I get the point. Let's see, is there any other ones? Let's see, Rose S.C. Scott from March 2017 again. Well, let me try to spread a bit of light in this question. Dishonesty of any kind occurs in daily life along with plagiarism. There is a plenitude of possible reasons that can somehow explain all human actions. However, I do believe that in most cases people are fully aware of what they do. So here are my thoughts. They may have fallen souls. They may have zero respect to other people. The notion moral values is just an empty phrase for them. They have no idea. And a trace of fear about plagiarism checkers. They are not patient enough to conduct their own research. If to say the truth, I'm about to turn into Hulk when I see even the hint of a lie. Oh, okay, I don't know what the, I honestly don't know what the hell this person's talking about. But I guess I could kind of understand some of the stuff that they pointed out. Plagiarism checkers, like I remember that back in high school. Again, like it's like if you write something. If for example on a test or something like that, you got to write something. You got to write some kind of like idea or some kind of like a test at the end of the semester or whatever. You got to write some long drawn out thing, like an essay or something like that. And then supposedly there's people that would check the essay even back in the early mid 2000s. You know what I mean? They would try to scare you with that, like If you plagiarize somebody else's essay, it's people double check that stuff. There's people out there that are double checking that kind of stuff, and they will actually try to see if you're stealing somebody else's work. So, yeah. I mean, I guess that's something that is out there, and that can affect people. But yeah, I mean, plagiarism. Yeah, people like a Joe Rogan. I mean, you see Joe Rogan come after Carlos Mencia. You see people like Joe Rogan coming after Dennis Leary, and I'm glad that he was able to do it. I'm glad that Joe Rogan was able to, expose those guys after all those years. People like Dane Cook got exposed by Louis C.K. Louis C.K. accused Dane Cook of stealing his jokes. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty cool. I didn't even know that Dane Cook stole some jokes from Louis C.K. That was kind of a fascinating thing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Dane Cook isn't really that funny. I mean, I don't think he's the worst. I've seen him. He's had his moments. I don't think he's like the worst comedian of all time. He's kind of more of an acquired taste. You have to kind of understand his approach to comedy, Dane Cook. But yeah, he was accused of stealing Louis C.K.'s joke back in the mid 2000s. So, I mean, that was a big deal. That kind of put him on blast. And you see guys like Dane Cook and guys like Carlos Mencia. These guys that are thieves, and even maybe somebody like a Dennis Leary that got exposed in later years, and now they're just known as hacks. And so they're not as famous as they used to be. They kind of fell off. They never got that full respect from people. Or people did respect them. They lost that respect over time because of plagiarism checkers. People that will check to see if your stuff is plagiarized, or people will notice it. And even people like a Boomstick. I mean, Boomstick had to basically plagiarism check or double check Muson's review on IGN. He had to literally like make a video about it. So yeah, I mean, some people just think that they can get away with it, and which is kind of sad. And I think it's because some of these plagiarists, these hacks, they get away with it for so long, And for so many years and they've gotten away with it. Like some of these guys, people that's been accused of plagiarism, people like maybe like a Robin Williams, that they get away with it for years and years. Decades would go by, basically generations would go by, and they basically got by on stealing other people's stuff and stealing other people's work and stealing other people's jokes or material or what have you, and they get by on that. They are basically able to rip off other people's material, and we see that with other areas in life all the time. We see that in Hollywood. These hack Hollywood writers, they steal movies all the time. They rip off movies. They rip off foreign movies. They rip off storylines from Japan and Korea and, Korean movies and Japanese movies and, even European movies. They basically just retake, or not retake, but they rehash. They basically rehash other people's scripts, other people's work, other people's storylines and characters, and just kind of repackage them in their own garbage Hollywood version, this kind of crappier Hollywood movie that's basically either a remake or a rehash or some kind of, crappy ripoff, some unoriginal hack knockoff. And Hollywood is full of movies like that. Hollywood is full of films and movies that have come out that are basically just rip-off versions of other movies that came from somewhere else. You take a look at movies like The Magnificent Seven, for example, a complete rip-off of The Seven Samurai from Japan. That's just one example. They just basically take the same storyline, but they change it into an Americanized version. And so plagiarism happens everywhere. And so it's unfortunate, but when people get away with it too, when people get away with plagiarism for years and years and years, like in Hollywood and, in other aspects of life, that becomes the thing. It just becomes normalized. It just becomes like, it might not be like celebrated or exposed, like people don't talk about it too much, but it's something that is, people got away with it. And so now they're successful, and so they become this powerful entity, whether it's in Hollywood or in the media. They become the establishment. So now it's like, they built their success and their money off of other people's work and other people's material, and they become success stories because of that. And it's like, it's crappy and it's horrible, but some people just get away with it because, it's also because of a lack of information. A lot of people just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't know, this originally came from that, or this originally came from some other writer, or this song was originally a ripoff of some other some other writer, or this song was not even written by this musician or this singer, it's from somebody else, or this movie script is from another country, it's from another movie, some other foreign movie that already came out like 10 or 15 years ago. It's basically just being rehashed again and again and again. And when people become successful and they get away with it, then it's like, oh damn, like, you don't have to have talent or creativity. You just need to have better marketing, basically. Better marketing and stronger marketability. And you have to be fast and quick and you have to be faster on the mainstream. When you reach that mainstream status and you start advertising your stuff to a lot of people around the world, then you kind of become known as the first guy to do that, even though you might have ripped it off somewhere else. I think another perfect example of this is going all the way back to Tesla. Tesla and Edison, I think, right? Was it Thomas Edison? What are those guys? Like, I think it was Thomas Edison and Tesla. And that was like the big thing back in the day when it comes to technology and innovation and electricity and stuff like that. Like, supposedly, like, Edison was this amazing inventor, right? He was this incredible inventor, but at the same time, he was basically just, I don't know, like ripping off Tesla's invention and stuff. Like, he basically took, Tesla's innovation and Tesla's ideas, but like kind of passed it off as his own, or he like monetized it. He was the first guy to really be known as the I guess the grandfather of electricity, or lights and electricity, and being a businessman out of that. And then Tesla kind of became like he became a poor guy. He just didn't find as much success as Edison, and Edison became the top guy when it comes to electricity. Electric companies and the AC lines and all that stuff. AC based lighting companies, and so Edison became synonymous with electricity, whereas Tesla kind of got forgotten about, or he just kind of got buried underneath the Edison marketing. And so, unfortunately for Tesla, and he didn't make that much money in the end. I think Tesla died broke and penniless or something like that. Like he just did not have that much money, like when he prior to him dying back in the day. And it wasn't until maybe in the past like 10 or 20 years where people really got to recognize Tesla as like this beacon of genius or innovation when it comes to electricity and providing electricity to the modern world, and being the real godfather or the real grandfather of electricity. So anyway, any more to do with this particular thing? Let's kind of look at other responses. Nina Crespi. I feel like I've seen that name before. What's the reason people take the escalator, elevator instead of stairs? It saves time and effort. Plagiarizing saves time and effort. You'd spend researching, so now you can do more dating, drugging, and screwing. Well, this comparison, I don't like it, because an escalator and elevator is supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to be... I don't want to be walking all the time, especially in a big mall or any place that's like... I'm walking anyway. I'm walking to the place, I'm walking to the building, I'm walking to the mall, and now I gotta keep climbing a stair. I don't gotta do that. I love the escalator. I love the elevator. You know what I mean? I love taking that stuff. Take the lift, whatever you want to call it. I love that stuff. So it's not exactly the same. When you take an escalator and elevator, yeah, it's quicker, it saves time. That's good. It's supposed to be convenient. It's not the same thing as you... I'm not ripping off other people's, like, walking, or other people's ability to walk or take the elevator or whatever, or ability to go up and down the stairs. I'm not stealing other people's work when I take the escalator or elevator. When you take an escalator or an elevator, you're just saving time for yourself. But when you plagiarize, you steal other people's work. You take other people's creativity. That's the big difference. So I don't like that comparison at all. I think it's wrong, and I completely disagree with what Nina Crespi put down. All right, and this one more. I think we've been at this for about an hour now. From Quajit, from Malaysia. From March 19, 2017. There's only 3 reasons why people plagiarize, and it can be summarized into 3 words with ascending word count. 1 word is lazy, 2 words douchebags, 3 words last minute work. I hope that answers your question. Well, they're probably all true. They're probably all correct. Lazy, somebody's a D-bag, and somebody is not putting into effort. The D-bag probably applies to people like a Dennis Leary, people like a Mencia even. Like, I can understand that word being associated with them. Like, you stole somebody else's work. Like, on YouTube, when people steal other people's material, like on the internet and stuff, like on YouTube channels, when somebody makes a video and somebody else completely rehashes that video, and like you see that a lot, especially with top 10 channels. I see that significantly. Like, somebody will do a top 10 WWE channel, and then they'll do a top 10, let's say top 10 WWE controversies of 2018. And then somebody else, some other wrestling channel that has a similar top 10 content, will make a similar, very, very similar list, like, right away. And I've seen that happen on YouTube. Like, they basically just rip off other people's top 10 lists. And so that makes them completely lazy. They cash in on other people's success and other people's ideas. So that's definitely something where... Also, I think to some people it's just easy money, or they think it's easy money. They think it's easy income. It's they have a monetized account or a monetized channel, so they want to rip off other people's top 10 or other people's top 10 ideas, or whatever kind of video they have that has some kind of interesting thing going on, and then they just rehash it, repackage it in their own crappy little channel. So we do see that on YouTube as well. And I mean, if this is YouTube, there's not really that many talented people on YouTube. That's why it's YouTube. You know what I mean? And that includes people like me that basically just ramble on the internet. That's all we really do, is that we like to talk online. But it's like, I'd like to think that I at least have some kind of original thoughts that I like to put out there. I don't like taking other people's, garbage and just kind of rehashing it as my own. I just don't like the idea of that. And I just don't like taking somebody else's, like basically reciting somebody else's review or somebody else's thoughts. Like I'm not interested in that at all. I like to basically almost have a conversation, like almost have a thing where I would talk about somebody else's idea and then I would have my response to it. Or if I'm reviewing a video game, I like to give my own thoughts and my own opinion about it. I remember even back in the day, like many years ago, people would give me requests on making YouTube videos about certain topics that everybody else already had. Hey, can you do a rant video? Or can you do a video about, can you do a Nickelodeon rant? Do a rant on Nickelodeon and why Nickelodeon TV shows are crappy now? Or can you do a rant about this particular WWE superstar, or this particular TV show, or this particular music, or certain things that are like very topical? Hey, do a rant on like certain topic. I remember back in the day, like in the early 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, where people would have the same exact rant topics. They would talk about the same things again and again and again. Like everybody, they would talk about the same ideas and the same thing. They would rant about the same exact thing. They'd rant about Nickelodeon TV shows. They would do a rant on Sonic. The Sonic franchise is bad now, or whatever. Or do a rant on fanboys. Do a rant on, wrestling or whatever. Like do a rant on why wrestling is so different now, or whatever. Like do a rant on this and that. But they were like very familiar topics that everybody else has already talked about. So, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because it's like, everybody's talked about this garbage before. Everybody's talked about it, and I'm not even interested in it. I'm not even interested in rehashing Nickelodeon, or why Nickelodeon sucks now, or why SpongeBob SquarePants sucks now, or you know what I mean? Like, it's so hacky, and it's so tired. Everybody's talked about it. People rant about the same thing again and again and again, and it gets so repetitive. And it's like, you have no original ideas. You know what I mean? You have no original thoughts. That you gotta rehash other people's rant ideas. Like, give me a break, man. So, I just didn't like. That's one of the things that I can't stand about YouTube, is that YouTube has so many talentless hacks, and the videos, they all kind of blend together because they all talk about the same thing. Like, another thing would be like this kind of you got the skeptic community, but then you also have like this anti-SJW community that's like, everybody's against like social justice warriors now, and everybody's making videos about that now, and everybody's talking about like, oh, everybody wants a safe space, or everybody is making videos against the left or against liberals or what have you. I mean, yeah, is it fun to see some of that stuff? Sure. And it's fun to make fun of like really dumb liberals. That's fine. That's good. But like every channel now is like that. Every channel is like talking about people that are like people that are like anti-PC culture. They are making videos like that all the time now, And so you got these famous YouTube channels now. They're everywhere now. Like everybody's anti-SJW now, and they're very pro anti-PC. They're very like, oh, I'm not into political correctness. And, you know what I'm saying, like, they try to call out everything. They try to call out, like, all the BLM stuff. They try to call out, like, feminists all the time. They call out anybody that calls out racism all the time. Like, anything that has some kind of leftist thing going on, or some kind of liberal idea, they're calling that stuff out now all the time. And it's like, that's pretty hacky too, because everybody's like that now. Everybody's saying the same thing again and again. I remember when Eminem did that video against Trump. I think it was last year. And all of a sudden, all these guys started making videos against Eminem. They started attacking him like, oh, Eminem is this and Eminem is that. Like, Eminem was just giving his opinion and his thought and his rhymes or whatever in battle rap form against Trump. And then all of a sudden, all these anti-SJW people attacked Eminem. They went after him, like, and they were all saying the same thing. They all were like either doing a rap parody battle against Eminem and calling out his SJW thing going on. And so it became really hacky to do it. It became redundant. Like, all right, okay, I get it. It's like you see like people try to. Basically, they see Paul Joseph Watson, PJW videos, and then they want to imitate that. They want to, like, attack Eminem in a similar way. And it's like, everybody's doing the same thing now. Everybody's doing the same kind of anti-SJW memes and stuff like that on the internet. And it's like the same thing again and again and again. And after a while, that just gets super repetitive. And again, like, hackneyed. Like, it's the same thing. It's completely unoriginal. And so, you know, even the right wing is the conservatives or whatever, even they are guilty of being hacks or talentless, you know, unoriginal creative people. I mean, the left has a lot of that too, but also the right. So I mean, both sides can be quite uncreative and just really redundant. You know what I mean? The same ideas again and again, the same anti-SJW complaints, the same anti-SJW fake outrage or forced outrage videos where it's like, oh, this, you know, irrelevant YouTube channel that only has like 20 views or whatever, they're talking about being proud of being an LGBT and whatever, and it's like, oh, this guy's, and then somebody will be like, I'm against that. You know, then anti-SJW would be like, this guy is promoting LGBT, like, attack this guy. This guy is bad. You know what I mean? He's brainwashing the kids. Like, you know, what's going on in this world? Like, this guy's attacking, you know, our freedom of sexual association. Like, this guy's promoting LGBT. Like, burn him down. He's bad. And it's like, it's just some transgendered kid, like, talking about his experiences, and it's like, it's not even a big deal. Like, you know, he only has 20 views. And it's like, who cares? Like, this guy's just, you know, people on the right also like to blow stuff out of proportion. They try to blow everything out of proportion. They try to, like, every little nitpicky thing that they can do, every little petty, like, thing that they do, they just focus on this, like, leftist garbage. I mean, I think it's fun to do that every now and then, and to call out some of the more extreme stuff, some of the more, like, really outrageous garbage. But, like, if your entire channel is dedicated to that, it's really hacky, and it's really predictable, and it's really, it's not creative, and it's not original. It's very redundant. And I've noticed that with the anti-SJW crowd, you know, and don't get me wrong, obviously, I don't like SJWs either. You know what I mean? I'm not a fan of SJWs. I think they're pathetic. I think they're lame. I think they're terrible. But they're not really harming me. And it's like, I've seen so many memes again and again attacking them, and it just gets redundant after a while. It gets old after a while. It's like, all right, like, I'm done with this. I'm sick and tired of this. I don't want to hear anymore. Like, enough with this SJW stuff. This garbage. Like, I'm sick of it. Like, I'm done with it. Like, let's move on to something more important. Alright, so that's it for this episode of the Review Space. That's my thoughts on plagiarism and people that are basically talentless hacks that are basically rip-offs and thieves. That's it for this episode of the Review Space. Thank you guys for watching. Check out the channel for more videos. Subscribe. Click on the bell button for notifications. And until next time, peace.